All right, picking up with that Pelican nebula thing that we realized we need to have a little bit better, we need to do a rotation-based alignment as well. I've now fired up Nebulosity. I told it to then go into the align and combine and say that we're going to do translation and rotation. So now it wants me to go and click on my initial star here. All right, I'm going to let it go and automatically do these because as I've already seen through here, there's not that much motion in between them. So it's going and it's picking out that same star. And since we need to not only deal with up, down, left, right kind of motion on this, but a little bit of rotation on it and everything as well, we're going to need to be able to give it a second star to know how much of an angle there is between each frame. Okay, so now it's done that. It's asking me to move on to the second star. This little dialog over here also now goes and tells us that it's, what it's actually done here. Now let me go and give it a second star to work on. Click on this little guy here. And again, I should be able to automatically do these. And so it's going to go through and you see it's popping up. It's saying it's found the second star in each one of these. And once it's done this, it's then going to go through and actually deal with the rotation aspect and everything as well. As before, I've told it that it just wants to go through and I wanted to go through and save each individual frame. So I'll pause it here as it's doing the alignment on these big images. Alrighty, we are done. It has stacked all of these up here. So now then, let's go and actually have it then do the stacking on it. So head back into align and combine, none. We can stick with our 10 to 90th percentile here. Let's try giving these a shot. All right, let's load up the newly 2-star aligned ones here. Again, we're going to go through, we're going to chunk and do this registration. All right, we're just finishing up. I should say this stacking, not this registration. And so after this, it'll pop up the thing saying, what do you want to call it? So now let's call this a stack 2-star 90% B0. Okay, so now let's go and actually see what's inside here. Because again, if I set my little just viewing sliders over, I'm going to see that, yeah, there is stuff inside here. But if you notice, it's all, of course, buried way, way, way deep into the shadows. So, let's start off with some levels. All right, I'll take the power, give it a little bit of something. Let's give it a little bit more here. Let's set a little bit of a black point. Let's give it a little bit more. Just start iterating through a little bit and pulling this out. Now, one of the things, again, you'll notice there's a peak to the histogram here, and then there's this tail that's coming off. Okay, the tail is coming off because, tell you what, let me zoom in and show everyone here. See on the edge, we have all of these pixels that are because there's of that misalignment between the frames there initially. We've got all of these little bits as we sort of have a jagged edge then to our frame. Okay, so we can do things like we can tell it that we want to go and crop, and we can try to guess, some number of pixels worth of stuff here. I'm just picking 10 here right now, just kind of for grins. You can, of course, also go through and draw and, select things and be able to then see what we have here. So 19,000, okay, 16,000, it's not too bad. I've got a little bit still here I see on the top. I see a little bit of a gradation there. I could probably do another 10 actually on each one of these things here and be in fine shape. So let's just do that again. I'm doing this in a little quick and dirty way. If you really want to maintain every last little pixel that you possibly can, you'll do it a little bit more precisely than I'm doing here. But now I see that looks pretty good. Okay, so now when I go and I pop into something like levels, hey, that looks like a much more normal kind of histogram. Okay, at this point, though, you may be saying to yourself, that looks, I see something in here, but it's, of course, kind of washed out. But in addition, is not really a perfect color kind of thing here. All right, so let's do this auto color balance again. This is one of my favorite little routines here in all of Nebulosity because it just works really well. Okay, so now then let me go into levels here again. Let me go and set a little bit more of a black point. Let me give a little bit more of a stretch, a little bit more of a black point. And now we can see that we are most definitely getting this nebula out here. It's a beautiful looking shot. All right, so now again, we can start doing some other things. We can do curves and try to then go and figure out what is going to be a nice way of going and having this kind of information come out. Probably should have done curves a little earlier in my processing. And again, realizing that in all of this, what you're really trying to do is do this in an iterative kind of fashion. Okay, I spent a little too much time with levels. It looks pretty flat and this kind of thing. But this is then where the individual taste of the person actually doing this, comes into play and what they really like. Okay, so we can go through and we can, of course, save any of these things along the way. I do recommend saving this. So I can call this something like, V1 or something like this, and we can go through. The other thing, though, let me just quickly try seeing how well this works. Let's load back up our V0 here. Let's go back into our crop, and this time let's take 20 off of each one. I'm just doing this kind of in real time here for grins. I have no idea if this is going to do anything good for us. Let's hit digital development processing. It's decidedly not doing fun things for my image right now. So sometimes DDP works quite well, other times decidedly not. And that one seemed to be decidedly not. Anyway, we could go back and we can do a little bit better with curves to try to come up with a little bit better better looking image. So I'm just going to do the color stretch here a few times. And now, I didn't set the, let me do that was probably the problem with the digital development. I hadn't actually done the auto color balance yet. So as you're doing curves, it's really handy to just come in levels every once in a while and do a reset of the black point there. Curves, this is me doing this in absolute real time without actually having looked at and cheated to come up with anything in this. All right, we are most definitely starting to bring out a nice looking nebula here. Look at this. Look at this pretty shot. Okay. So I think at this point here, I'm going to, this is then off for the customer to go and try to actually do. But as you can see, those star trails are gone. Everything is looking pretty nice and clean. And we got the beginnings of a nice looking image.